Excuse my hair, I don't feel like fixing it. But, anyways, I'm gonna try to do this Mockingjay video. But first, I just found out that I can make 15-minute videos now. Isn't that awesome? I can also have them up to 2 gigabytes in size, which means I could do high def, but that's just pointless. Anyways, 15-minute videos. Isn't that exciting? 10 minutes wasn't enough, but now I can talk more. So let's just go ahead and jump into this. Okay. Everyone in this fandom of the Hunger Games fandom thing, they all love Mockingjay. Oh, it was such a good book. It was depressing and sad, but it was such a good... This was Deathly Hallows, okay? It's like, people say that it's a good book just because the other books were good, you know what I mean? This book was BS. I'm calling that out now. This book was terrible. I enjoyed it simply because it's the end of the series, you know what I mean? If this is making any sense. But it wasn't really that, it wasn't a good book. I guess that makes sense. I'm trying to make it make sense. So, okay. I'm sorry, all I can think about is Gale, and I'm trying not to. So, the problem I had with this book is, first, it's slow. You got the first 2 books to be slow. You don't make the third, where the actual war is coming down, slow. I don't even know how she managed to do it. I was kind of impressed. But, so I'm expecting, like, action from the get-go. With the way the second one ended, I was like, what's gonna happen? But it took so long for anything to even be said about anything. And I'm like, listen, you mother effers, you killed Senna in the last one. And I was in denial. I just talked about this with somebody. I was in denial the whole time reading this book that Senna was dead. It was like, you know how people will talk to you about somebody close to you that's died, and they'll talk to you in the past tense, but you, like, block that out and you can't even think. That's how I was. I'm like, Senna's not dead. They're gonna get to the Capitol and they're gonna reunite, and he's gonna help her kill President Snow, and it's gonna be awesome. Like, the whole time I was like that. I really could not think that Senna was dead. But anyway, that's nothing to do with what I want to say about this book. God dang it, my off-topicness. Okay, so let's see. I felt, personally, that Katniss was, like, out of her mind the whole book. She was crazy. She was in the hospital. She was unconscious. Something. She just kind of just sat back and let things come to her, if that makes sense. And that's how I felt through pretty much the whole book. And then when she couldn't handle something, like Peeta, that's when she was like, oh, I can't be here now. Now I have to do something to get out of here. And I'm like, this is not Katniss. What happened to Katniss? I know that she's kind of mental and stuff, but for reals? So, that was disappointing. Let's see, what else did I write? Waiting to be... Yeah, she was pretty much a puppet for Coin and the rebellion, and she didn't do anything, really, herself. She didn't even, like, speak up when she felt strongly about something. Like, when dumb mother effing Gale was like, let's dump Snow on the nut. And I'm like, not getting into it. She didn't even say anything. She just like, you shouldn't do that, in her head. That's terrible, because our dad died in a mine shaft, but I'm not gonna say anything, because I don't want people to hate me, or whatever. And so she doesn't say anything, and then when it happens, and she's all like, oh, I should have said something, oh god, I have to go help. I hated it. Oh, I hate it so much. Anyway, so then the whole book is like new moon. I don't have any better, like, ugh, God, she's so depressed the whole time. And I just went and found a water closet and hid behind the water heater. Or I just went and slept in the stock room. I'm like, dude, I don't care. This is why I hate first person writing. I hate when they're written in first person because you can't get out of them ever, and it annoys me. It's different when like Harry Potter, it's third person, but you're focusing on one. You can switch if you want. You normally doesn't happen, but it's there. And reading this one the whole time, she's all depressed. I'm like, oh my god, we are never getting out of her head. I am so annoyed. So that bothered me. Let's see. There's like 1% of the book that is not stuck in her stupid brain, in her stupid, depressing, emo brain. I mean, I understand why she's emo. I get it. It's a war. People are dying. All this crap is happening to you. It's only gonna get worse, sweetie pie. But you don't know that. So, one of the best parts of the book, which also annoys me, is when Finnick, beautiful, sweet, loving Finnick, I love him so much, finally gets out of his depressing BS and starts to actually become human again. And God, it was so good. I loved it. It was Finnick, warm my heart, Finnick. So Finnick, and he gets married, and it's glorious, and it's so beautiful. But it doesn't matter, because we're just gonna let you get eaten by lizard mutts and not even talk about you anymore. Gone. We're not even gonna take the time to, put any sort of talking or closure about it. So the moment he is dead, all Katniss is talking about is Peeta. I was mad, and I love Peeta. I was like, you whore, how dare you? You just blew him to pieces, and you're not, like, you spend the whole book being emo, and you don't have a moment right now to take to remember Finnick for all the awesome that he was. He saved your effing life. He saved Peeta's effing life, and y'all are just gonna sit there and be like, well, he's dead. Peeta, you have to get out of whatever handcuffs, and we're just gonna talk about you right now. I was like, oh, I want to rip the pages out. I was so upset. Okay. Anyways, so moving on from that. Back to this book being like Deathly Hallows. It had probably more pointless deaths. I mean, okay, I don't know how to say this. Like, some of the deaths in Deathly Hallow made some sense. Some of them didn't. This book was more, they didn't make sense. Does that make sense to you? So, Boggs. I loved Boggs. I loved Boggs before the Finnick line. I was like, this dude is cool. And he reminds me of like an ex-Marine, and he's just gonna waltz up in there and kick butt. And I loved him. And then he actually like got a sense of humor and was like, don't expect us to be impressed, Gale. We just saw Finnick go down in his underwear. And I was like, oh my god, I love him now. I love it. It's official. I love him. Should have known that as soon as I was like, I love you, gone. Just pretty much everyone was pointless. Everyone. Oh my god, I'm almost at 10. Oh, I don't gotta worry about 10 minutes. I can do 15. Let's see. Prim. Let's go ahead and talk about Prim. Prim's death. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming from the first book, and I told my friends that when I was talking to them about it. I was like, there's no way she's like, I had a feeling that there was something, just Prim couldn't make it, because the whole thing started because of Prim. And somebody said in my comments that Prim's death was like an easy out for the whole Gale and Peeta debate for Katniss. I disagree. I think that the reason Prim died was because even if Peeta had died, even if Gale had died, if anybody else had died, it would not have been as profound an impact on Katniss. And somebody like that had to die. So it just so happened to be the only person that could possibly be, and that was Prim. They just made it Gale's bomb because Gale is a mother effer, and Suzanne knows that, and she was just like, well, since Gale sucks anyways, let's just make it his bomb that kills Prim. Whatever. So, I don't even... Oh, the end. Oh, God, the end. Oh, God, the epilogue. People... Epilogues, just don't write them because nobody's good at them, apparently. It was forced. It was out of character. It was depressing. I mean, I wanted Katniss to choose Peeta, but Peeta wasn't Peeta anymore. Not really. Like, he still had... I mean, that's not what I want to say. Peeta was Peeta, just a different Peeta. He still had the goodness in him. He managed to find himself. Katniss was damaged beyond repair. So how Peeta could still love her actually made less sense to me. I mean, I don't know. Anyways, if that made sense. I hope that made sense. It makes sense to me. But in the epilogue, it's like the whole book, Katniss is like detached from herself. She doesn't want to deal with things, and things just keep happening, and she hates everything. Blah, 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 emo, emo, emo. And it didn't change in the epilogue. She's like, oh, look at my children playing on a graveyard. Peeta. Like, she just stays detached. And it's like 20 years later or something that in the epilogue, and she hasn't changed at all. I don't understand. And she's got these 2 kids, which she never wanted. So isn't that kind of forced too? How did that change? I mean, I know she didn't want them because she didn't want them in the Hunger Games, but even when she was thinking about it later, she was like, oh, if the Hunger Games didn't exist, could I have kids with Gale? No, she was like, no, I wouldn't have kids. I don't want kids. But she has kids because Peeta wanted them so bad. And since when is Katniss a little, oh, I'll give you whatever you want because I love you. Also, I was like, no, you just wanted, oh, so mad. So, I guess I'll wrap this up. I hear a lot of people saying that Collins focused too much on the war and not on Katniss's relationships or whatever, which is a total BSing lie, because it's all about stupid Katniss and their stupid relationship, and I wish there had been more war and action in it, and at least a tiny little bit of closure about Senna's death, just a little bit, because I was just, at the whole, it's still open and raw and bleeding, because I don't have any idea about Senna, but nothing new. Anyways, so, the epilogue was dumb. The whole book, I just don't think this was a good book. It was a good ending of the series because it was so realistic, I guess. But as a book, I did not really enjoy it. Because it was slow, it was annoying, Katniss was annoying, she was OOC, I know she was crazy, I don't care. Pointless deaths left and right. And they weren't even that, like, talked about or extravagant, I guess I want to say. It was just like, oh, they're dead, moving on. Oh, she died, moving on. I'm like, we don't even have time to process this BS. Neither did Katniss, which makes sense, but there has to be a little bit of room. Anyway, the whole thing, I didn't like it. It was like Deathly Hallows, and I know people hate it when I compare things to Twilight and Harry Potter, but I can't help it, so get over it. Because everybody, That's all. I guess I'm done. I tried. I hope it works.